It was 1997, and the vision of the WNBA was becoming a reality. Uniforms were designed, a TV deal was reached, and the distinct orange and oatmeal ball was crafted. The league began to assume an identity, but even with all the planning, the future was anything but assured.
Ever wondered how the WNBA, a league that's now a household name, got its start? It wasn't always a slam dunk. In fact, it was a groundbreaking gamble that paid off big time. So let's take a trip down memory lane and uncover the incredible story of how the WNBA was born and has grown into the powerhouse it is today.
As professionals, here's the tip, and the Sparks control. Leslie, a star here at Morningside High School in Los Angeles, starred at USC, grew up just a few blocks away from.
In 1996, the WNBA was born. It was a new era for women's basketball, and the league was off to a flying start. They had 8 teams, including the Charlotte Sting, Cleveland Rockers, Houston Comets, and New York Liberty in the East, and the Los Angeles Sparks, Phoenix Mercury, Sacramento Monarchs, and Utah Stars in the West. The first ever WNBA game was a historic event. It was between the New York Liberty and the Los Angeles Sparks, and it took place in Los Angeles. The Liberty won, and a huge crowd of over 14,000 fans showed up to watch. The game was even televised nationally on NBC. The WNBA was off to a great start, and it had some big deals with TV networks like ESPN and Lifetime, and the league was getting a lot of attention thanks to the success of the USA basketball women's national team at the 1996 Olympics.
Liberty season. Cooper kicks it out. 8 on the shot clock. Cooper looks up and sees that. Shot clock at 4. Cooper, nice feed to Arcane. Reverse has one timeout left, but he's not going to call it. He'll put it in the hands of Cynthia Cooper. Cooper to Thompson. Tina Thompson puts it up. Banks it!
In 1997, the WNBA was in its first season, and there were some incredible players on the court. Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, and Cynthia Cooper were all making a name for themselves. The Houston Comets, with Cooper leading the way, were the team to beat. They even won the first ever WNBA championship. The league was growing fast. They added 2 teams in 1998 and 2 more in 1999. And that same year, they signed a big deal with the players, the first collective bargaining agreement in women's professional sports. The WNBA was also facing some competition from another league, the American Basketball League. But later that year, the ABL folded. This was a big win for the WNBA, and they got to add some of the ABL's best players to their teams. The league was doing well, but there was a setback in 2000. The NBA had a lockout, and that affected the WNBA's TV ratings. But the Houston Comets keep winning championships. They were a dominant force, and they won 4 titles in a row. But it all came to an end after Cooper retired.
Looking to Milton. Milton, Leslie running the floor. Was an early lead for New York at
The following year, the Los Angeles Sparks took over dominating the WNBA. Led by Lisa Leslie, they were a force to be reckoned with. They had a great regular season and made it all the way to the finals, where they swept the Charlotte Sting. The following year, in 2002, the Sparks were still on top. They had another great season and made it back to the finals. This time they faced the New York Liberty, and they swept them again. It was an incredible run for the Sparks, but there was big news in the WNBA. The NBA, which used to own all the teams, was selling them off. Some teams were staying in the same city, but others were moving. Utah was going to San Antonio, and Orlando was moving to Connecticut. Unfortunately, 2 teams, Miami and Portland, couldn't find new owners and had to fold.
This season, who knew they'd still be here? Bill Lambier, through trades and acquisitions, free agent signings, put the pieces of the puzzle together, and this is what we've got. 22,000 people waiting for Detroit, on the verge now of winning the champ. But the destination counts. They are champs.
In 2003, the WNBA continued facing challenges. The players were threatening to strike, and the league was struggling to get things back on track. But then, something incredible happened. The Detroit Shock, who were a terrible team the year before, were now one of the best in the league. And it was all thanks to Bill Laimbeer. The Detroit Shock made it all the way to the finals and beat the Los Angeles Sparks, causing a huge upset. Unfortunately, not all was still well in the league. The Cleveland Rockers, one of the original teams, were folding. And there was another change coming. The league president, Val Ackerman, was stepping down. But they had a great replacement lined up, Donna Orender. In 2006, there was more good news for the WNBA. They were celebrating their 10th anniversary, and they were announcing a new team in Chicago. The league was also making some changes to the rules to make the game more like the NBA. And the Detroit Shock were back in the finals. They'd been working hard, and they were finally back where they belonged. They faced the Sacramento Monarchs in a tough series, but they came out on top.
First time in their history, the Phoenix Mercury are the champs of the WNBA.
Play to start the game. They looked relaxed. I think that's a tribute to Paul Westhead.
That same year, the Charlotte Sting, one of the original WNBA teams, folded, which was a tough blow for the league. But the Phoenix Mercury had a silver lining. They were on fire thanks to their new coach, Paul Westhead, who brought in a fast-paced style of play. With star players like Cappie Pondexter, Diana Taurasi, and Penny Taylor, the Mercury were unstoppable. They racked up points and made it to the finals, where they faced off against the reigning champs, the Detroit Shock. After a fierce battle, the Mercury won their first ever WNBA championship. The league also had some exciting news. A new team was coming to Atlanta. Fans got to vote on the name and colors, and they chose Atlanta Dream. The team played its first game in 2007. Although they had a tough start, there was a lot of buzz for what's to come. The following year, the Mercury faced some challenges with the loss of their coach and a key player, but they didn't let that slow them down. They brought back Westhead and Penny Taylor and dominated the Western Conference. In the finals, they squared off against the Indiana Fever in a thrilling series that even went into overtime. The Mercury clinched their second championship, and their high-scoring style started influencing other teams, changing the game for the WNBA.
Under control in the lane. Changed the shot. Willingham another rebound. She's done a nice job on the glass so far. Honda. So you've got Taylor, Pondexter, and Taurasi all on the floor. The big three.
In 2009, the WNBA went through some big changes. The Detroit Shock packed up and moved to Tulsa, and the Sacramento Monarchs called it quits. It was a tough hit for the league, but there was some excitement brewing for a potential new team in the San Francisco Bay Area. Come 2010, things got really intense in the Eastern Conference. 3 teams were fighting tooth and nail on the last day of the regular season, making it a real nail-biter. In the finals, we saw a matchup between the Seattle Storm and the Atlanta Dream, both of which hadn't been in the spotlight for a while. It was great to see new faces battling for the championship. After the 2010 season, there was a shakeup in the WNBA's front office. Donna Orender stepped down as president, and Laurel J. Ritchie, formerly with the Girl Scouts, took over the following year. Then, remember the NBA lockout in 2011? It actually turned out to be a blessing for the WNBA. With the NBA on hold, more fans tuned into women's basketball, giving the league a fantastic boost. The 2011 season was electric, with news outlets buzzing about stars like Candace Parker, Maya Moore, and DeWanna Bonner. The play was top-notch, with even rookies like Danielle Adams and Danielle Robinson making waves. Angel McCoughtry led the Atlanta Dream to the finals for the second year running, but they were swept by the Minnesota Lynx, thanks to a healthy Simone Augustus. Then, in 2012, after a long Olympic break, the Indiana Fever made their mark and clinched the WNBA championship.
Day started at 7, been going around to all the different little shows.
Where we are right now, and I don't take it so much as a job or responsibility, but something like a challenge, and I welcome that challenge.
Congratulations. Anything?
So excited.
The 2013 WNBA draft was another game changer. We had Brittany Griner, Elena Del Don, and Skylar Diggins going 1, 2, and 3. It was a big deal, and for the first time ever, the draft was televised in primetime on ESPN. These three players, along with others like Taylor Hill, Laisha Clarendon, and Alex Bentley, were the future of the league. On the court, the Minnesota Lynx were on a roll. They won their second championship in 3 years, beating the Atlanta Dream in the finals. It was a dominant performance, and they became the first team to sweep the playoffs since the Seattle Storm. The league was gaining momentum. Griner, Del Don, and Diggins were helping to boost TV ratings, and more people were coming out to watch games. Even when the Los Angeles Sparks' ownership group folded, the league quickly found a new owner. It was a sign of how much the league had grown, and there were more changes on the horizon. The Tulsa Shock moved to Texas and became the Dallas Wings, and the San Antonio Stars packed their bags and headed to Nevada, becoming the Las Vegas Aces. It was a new era for the WNBA, and the league was stronger than ever. While the league was reaching new heights, more significant changes were on the way. In 2018, WNBA players weren't happy with their contracts, so they pushed for a new deal. It took some time, but by 2020, they finally reached an agreement. The new deal was a big win for the players. They got a nice pay raise, especially the star athletes. Plus, they no longer had to travel in cramped seats. Premium economy flights and their own hotel rooms on the road became the new standard. But it didn't stop there. The league made huge changes to support players starting families. Full paid maternity leave, childcare stipends, and even help with adoption and fertility treatments were included. It was a big step forward for the WNBA. There were also stricter rules. If you missed the start of training camp, you could face a suspension, helping keep things on track. Around the same time, some players wanted to coach in the NBA, but old contract rules made it tough. Kristi Tolliver, for example, wanted to coach with the Washington Wizards. But in 2020, the WNBA changed the rule, allowing players to coach in the NBA without salary limits. They also introduced the Commissioner's Cup, an in-season tournament to spice things up. Even though the 2020 season was tricky with COVID-19 and all games had to be played in Florida, the players made it work.
When you make the impossible shot, you tell your opponents, count.
The following year, the WNBA hit its 25th anniversary, and to celebrate, they went all out. There was a new logo, basketball, uniforms, and they even unveiled the W25, a list of the league's greatest players. But the big news? The launch of the Commissioner's Cup, an in-season tournament that had been delayed. Each team played 10 games towards Cup standings, with the top teams from each conference meeting in the final. It was a huge event, streamed on Amazon Prime Video, and the prize pool was $500,000. Players on the winning team got at least $30,000, while the MVP earned an extra $5,000. Fast forward to 2022, and the WNBA was growing. They raised $75 million and started looking to expand, narrowing potential cities from 100 down to 20, then 10. By 2023, the Golden State Warriors owners announced a new WNBA team in San Francisco, the first expansion since 2008. But it didn't stop there. The league hinted at even more teams, with cities like Toronto, Philadelphia, Denver, Portland, and Sacramento interested. This year, expansion talk got real. A group in Toronto was in serious discussions to bring a team to the city, and Portland's owners were also looking to add a WNBA team. It's a busy and exciting time for the league, with a bright future ahead. Enjoyed the video? Be sure to like and subscribe for more great content.